my pleasure to introduce Vihil H. Vigil. She is a driven and ambitious international women's empowerment, health, wellness, and business coach. She's an only parent to her little girl, U.S. Navy veteran and CEO of the Empowerment Empire. Through her coaching organization, Therapeutic Empowerment, she challenges the mindset of very busy professional family-focused women and women business owners by being their personal empowerment, health, wellness, and business coach. Her specialty is working with complex, ambitious women who want more from life and are ready to make it happen. She left corporate business development and project management to follow her true path in life of being an empowerment coach for global women, and she loves connecting with women willing to embrace their greatness to truly make our world a better place. As founder and CEO of the Empowerment Empire, LLC, she produces Women of Diversity, business brunches, power lunches, the Magister magazine, online educational summits, the International Women in Business Mastermind podcast, Magister magazine, and now the Boss Latina 2021 anthology. It is my pleasure to welcome Vihil as one of my guests for the Love Your Mission Inspiring Women interview series. Welcome. Vihil, I am so excited that you have said yes to the Love Your Mission Inspiring Women's interview series. Thank you so much for saying yes.
Absolutely. You're welcome. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for asking me.
All right. So we're going to get started. So what is something that you are celebrating today?
Oh gosh. I would say our growth of the empire from Northern to Southern California officially as of this week.
That's exciting. That's exciting. So you moved now and with your daughter, right?
Right. So my daughter is 8 years old and just finished her second grade of school. And so I thought this is the perfect time. I have been working with quite a few women in Southern California, as well, of course, as global clients through Therapeutic Empowerment and the Empowerment Empire. And it was just time for us to sort of shake up things a little bit in our own personal lives and in business. And I've been making some amazing connections with women down here in Southern California. So I thought, you know what, the timing is right. I just kept putting it out into the universe. And I was just embraced and invited, to come down here. And then we took an exploration trip last year, right before COVID shut everything down. We were literally here this time last year. I put it out to the universe and said, this is what we're doing. I need to be in a very growth-focused environment. Show me what is out there, world. And San Diego kept coming up in all sorts of opportunities. And so we chose our destination. And then through another coach, she connected me with housing. And so now we have a 3-month place that we're staying while I get to look for our permanent place. While I'm planning the opening of Empower You, which is going to be our business women's accelerator, business location, as well as co-working space for women wanting to create more out of their businesses.
That is exciting. So much changes, but in a really positive pathway for you.
Yeah, it was a lot, because my daughter and I drove from Sacramento to Southern California in a 20-foot U-Haul truck towing my car, which is a Chrysler 300, which is not a small vehicle. Going up over the grapevine, that was an experience which we will never forget. If my daughter is here, she's saying yes, definitely.
She's going, oh my gosh, Mom, that's going to be a memory.
So it was definitely an experience to get here. But once we got here, it's just been amazing. We're still unpacking boxes, but we have spent at least, 3-4 days at the beach, really just soaking in Southern California. We spent all day yesterday at Legoland. walking around. We got our like 6,000 steps in yesterday.
That's great. That's
So
fantastic.
it's been really good.
Oh, well, good. I'm so happy for you that you were able to make that move and making new changes. And so tell us now, what has been your career journey for you?
Sure. So when I started off in my career journey, I wanted to be I wanted to run SF MoMA's business department. So that being said, my plan was to continue to work in the arts and to build a business around that. And my bachelor's is in art history, museum and gallery studies. I explored running and operating art galleries. I started a business called the Vigil Center for the Arts, 20 years ago, where I was training local artists and unknown artists how to sell their artwork, how to I ran an art gallery called Alter Ego's Art House, which was mine, and I featured local artists from the Sacramento region. From there, I also explored, am I eventually going to get to SF MoMA? And I decided, maybe not. I lived in San Francisco, but I actually worked for a photographer selling his art, and that's how I got really good at selling artwork. It was my first sort of introduction to sales. So fast forward years, I kept getting drawn more so to the business aspect of creating, operating, and developing a business and how I can make that successful. So I continued with the Vigil Center for the Arts, and I continued with the gallery, which is Alter Ego's Art House, and just kept that small so I could sort of really keep my toes in the in the art world, because I am a huge lover of art and I am a huge collector, and I still train artists on how to sell their work. But what I found is that I wanted a broader audience. I wanted an audience who I could really relate to. And that's sort of where I started focusing in on women who have experienced trauma in their lives. Now, this was before, or this was after, rather. I had spent, I would say, about 20 years working in corporate and business development. I stuck with my business track. I earned my MBA. I worked for nonprofit professional and trade associations, managing their organizations across the state of California. So I was working for a for-profit entity, helping to manage nonprofit groups, which were like managing a bunch of small businesses. That was a really amazing experience, because then I worked with boards of directors, and I worked with a lot of volunteers, and who also were small business owners. So I kept getting pulled, not pulled, but I kept getting drawn towards small business owners and small business development. From that job is where I decided to, I wanted to be a mom. I was 34 and I wanted to have a child, and I wanted to sort of change things. So I had my daughter at 35, and I had to change my career. As a director of membership services for these nonprofits, my job was to travel throughout the state of California about 75% of the time. And that wasn't going to be cohesive with the lifestyle of a single parent. So I started looking for new opportunities. And a friend of mine said, why don't you look into the University of California? They have a temporary program that is their own temp agency within the UC, and you get placed pretty quickly based on your credentials. And I have a ton of credentials because I've always been very good at school. I love getting certifications. I love to volunteer. I had been on boards of directors as a volunteer. I had managed boards. I had all this business experience. So I applied at UC Davis campus, and I got picked up right away. I eventually found my work through administrative management for deans to moving up into project management. I got recruited by UC Berkeley. So I worked at UC Berkeley for a little over a year on a project. And then I was recruited out of Berkeley to work for the UC Office of the President located in Oakland. There was just a phenomenal experience. I worked for the system-wide controller. So it was in like corporate accounting department, but I did project management of IT systems implementation for the whole of the University of California. So this was definitely going in a direction that I hadn't anticipated. They sent me to a boot camp in San Francisco where I learned, the ins and outs of project management. I earned my PMP, my project management professional credential. And I was really loving it. And then my daughter started getting a little bit older, and I was commuting from the Sacramento Valley to the Bay Area on my beloved Amtrak. Yeah. And it finally got too much. And as a single parent, I was not making the income. Even as a senior project manager for the University of California, I wasn't making enough money to pay for childcare for my infant child and pay for our rent. So I thought, okay, it's time for a change again. So I applied for a job at UC Davis Health, which was UC Davis Med Center, but now they changed it to UCD Health. And I got picked up for a promotion, and I worked in project management again. And I kept going down that path, and I thought, this is really taking me into a direction that I wasn't anticipating, that I don't love, and I was losing that passion for my work. Because I could definitely be a workaholic, and I love being knee deep in business, but I was just being drawn down. I was being pulled down by the work. I wasn't loving it anymore. I had a supervisor who was just not always the happiest, most positive person. And I think that really, started to lead to me wanting to leave this position. It's very true what they say. People don't leave their jobs. People leave their bosses and supervisors.
Absolutely. So true.
Yeah. So, I stayed there for a while, even though the work started getting emotionally draining. And then right about this time is where I experienced a very violent personal relationship, which I had not had the experience of before. So that, coupled with my daughter getting really sick at this point in time, she had to have, eventually she had tubes put in her ears, and that took care of so many things for her health. But, she was having earache after earache and fevers and sickness. And so I was out of the office for that. And then my boss was always upset with me because I had to take time off of work to be with my daughter. And then that was stressing on me and my mental health, that I didn't even want to be around my boss anymore. I wasn't loving my job anymore. And my personal relationship was just getting worse and worse. And I don't know, I think it was one day my mom looked at me and she was like, honey, don't you smile anymore.
Oh.
And that was, I think, a hugely pivotal moment in my life where I decided something definitely has to change. So at that point, I pulled up every ounce of strength that I possibly could muster, and I waited for my abusive partner to leave home over the course of a weekend. I hired a U-Haul, I hired movers, and over the course of a weekend, my daughter and I packed up. We moved home, to live with my family, and I left the job all in the course of a week, and basically walked away with a storage full of stuff and clothes in suitcases and me and my little girl, because I was no longer willing to sacrifice my mental health, my emotional stability. I'm a happy-go-lucky person. I like to be positive and have fun and smile. And this was just not the life that I knew was meant for me. This was not meant for me. So once we left, I was like, okay, well, what now?
Right?
What do we do now? And then as a United States Navy veteran, I had been called to explore the mental health opportunities that the Mather VA had to offer in Sacramento. And I hesitated, and finally I said, you know what? All right, let's do it. Let's go see what this is all about. So I went there and I met with a counselor who specialized in trauma and also to kind of in hindsight, I was, I'd gone through sexual assault in the military. I had gone through, I was experiencing PTSD from being involved in wartime exercises, of which all was really brought to life because of an abusive partner and because of an abusive boss, 20 years later. Because I had gotten so good at just focusing on work that I wasn't focusing in on myself. Once I finally decided to focus on myself, the floodgates opened. And it was like, okay, you're going to deal with this. I'm going to let you deal with this. And then now you can deal with this. And now you can deal with this. And from what I understand, it's very common where for people who have experienced trauma and PTSD, and once you finally decide to start to work through previous traumas in your life, then a lot of other traumas that you have experienced start to resurface. So I went through about 1.5 years of working with an amazing therapist. We focused on cognitive behavioral processing, so CBT training, and which I love so much that I got certified in providing cognitive behavioral therapy training, or to my clients as a coach. I got involved with a lot of local groups on building myself back up. During this time, I still didn't know what in the world I was doing. All I knew is I had a savings account that I could live off of. I qualified for unemployment, and we had a safe place to live. So I thought, okay, this is your opportunity, Vihil, to explore what do you want to do. You have all of this training and all of this experience. You walked away from a life that was no longer serving you. What do you want to do now? And I did some very serious soul searching. So much that I started hiring coaches because I had heard of this industry of amazing women who were helping one another, who were coaching one another to figure out the next steps in their lives. So I signed up for all of these free programs that I could find online. Once I started signing up for all the free programs, and I felt like I was progressing through them, working on mindset, working on mental blocks, working on imposter syndrome. Do I have the capacity to make this happen? Do I deserve a good life? Through that, and through the amazing therapy program that I went through with my therapist at the VA, I finally started to find my power again. And I'd always been this very forthcoming, very, go-getter type of person. Like, don't tell me I can't do something, because I'm going to pick up and do it even better than, you could have imagined. And that was the person I was, and I no longer was that woman. I was afraid all the time. I wasn't confident in my decisions. I wouldn't stand up for myself, even though I knew that I was right. I just, I was so broken down and heartbroken, and I felt so defeated that I didn't know how to do that anymore. So through this journey, through this therapeutic process, is where I found my power again. That's when I decided, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. I want to help women who were in that position that I was to create the new life that they love, that they are thankful for, that they are successful in, that makes them smile and happy every day, that makes them feel powerful every day. So that's why I named my coaching program Therapeutic Empowerment. It's the first venture into coaching. And that is because through my own therapeutic journey is where I found my power again. And I knew I had to share that.